The way you board an airplane, something you've done your whole life without thinking, is about to quietly change in 2026, and almost no airline wants to openly talk about it yet. Think about it for a second. Every flight you've ever taken, every rushed line, every annoyed sigh when Group 1 boards while you're stuck in Group 6, every time you wondered why families, elites, credit card holders, and priority passengers seem to magically appear before you. All of that is about to be reshuffled in a way that feels subtle, almost invisible, but will completely change how flying feels. Who wins, who waits, and who quietly loses time without even realizing it. Because starting in 2026, airlines are no longer treating boarding as a simple operational step. They're treating it like a behavioral experiment. And the goal is no longer fairness or even speed. It's control, data, and revenue. And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. You might board later than ever before, even if you paid more than the person standing in front of you, because airlines are moving away from the old group number logic and into dynamic boarding hierarchies that change in real time based on factors you never see, like how fast you walk through the terminal, whether you checked a bag, if you used the airline app recently, how often you fly this route instead of others, and even whether you tend to sit down quickly or block the aisle when you board. And no, that's not sci-fi. That's operational psychology already being tested quietly right now, because airlines realized something most passengers never think about. Boarding isn't just about filling seats. It's about reducing friction, selling privilege, and training passenger behavior without saying a word. So instead of clearly defined groups like Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, the future boarding process will feel normal on the surface but behave very differently underneath, where your boarding position can change between the moment you check in and the moment you scan your pass. And yes, that means two people sitting next to each. Other could be called at completely different times for reasons neither of them understands. Which sounds confusing, but confusion is actually part of the strategy. Because confused passengers are less likely to challenge the system and more likely to accept upgrades, priority bundles, or just this once fees to avoid uncertainty. And airlines know that uncertainty stresses travelers more than delays. So they're monetizing that stress carefully, slowly, almost politely. And here's where it gets really interesting. In 2026, airlines are testing boarding orders that prioritize behavior over status, meaning someone with no elite status but a perfect behavioral profile. Fast mover, minimal carry-on, app user, seat near the back may board before a frequent flyer who historically slows down the aisle. And that's not punishment, it's optimization. Because airlines have discovered that shaving even 90 seconds off boarding saves millions annually. Not because planes leave earlier, but because crews reset faster, gates free up sooner, and delays don't cascade across the network. And once you understand that, you realize boarding groups were never about passengers. They were about airline math. And now that math has evolved, because technology finally caught up, and the scariest part is, you won't see the rules change announced loudly. There won't be a big press release saying we're changing boarding forever. Instead, you'll just notice that boarding feels different, quieter, more segmented, with fewer mass announcements and more targeted notifications on phones, more subtle lane divisions, more staff guiding individuals instead of groups. And if you're not paying attention, you'll think nothing changed at all, but your position in line did. And maybe your overhead bin access did too? Because airlines are also re-ranking bin usage in 2026, quietly tying boarding order to predicted carry-on size, meaning if the system thinks your bag is large, or you historically struggle lifting it, you may be pushed later automatically, regardless of your seat or status. And that sounds unfair, until you realize airlines don't see it as unfair. They see it as efficient, and efficiency always wins, especially when passengers don't realize what they're giving up. And this is why some travelers will swear flying got worse in 2026, while others will swear it got smoother, because the experience will depend entirely on whether the system likes how you travel. Not how much you complain, not how loyal you feel, but how predictably you move. And yes, airlines are absolutely watching that. Through boarding scans, gate cameras, aisle congestion data, and app interactions. And no, they don't need your face, they just need patterns. And here's the kicker. Families, seniors, and special assistance passengers won't disappear from early boarding, but they'll be separated into microphases instead of one big pre-board call. reducing crowding while making everyone else wait longer without realizing why. And that frustration, that's intentional because frustrated travelers are more likely to buy early boarding add-ons next time, even if early boarding doesn't mean what it used to. Because in 2026, early boarding no longer guarantees bin space, aisle flow, or faster seating. It just guarantees earlier entry. And those are not the same thing anymore. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because boarding will become less about when you step on the plane and more about how smoothly you disappear into your seat. And if you don't disappear smoothly, the system learns, adapts, and quietly adjusts your future boarding position without ever telling you why. And the wildest part is, this won't feel aggressive. It'll feel polite, modern, almost helpful. With messages like, "We'll notify you when it's your best time to board." Which sounds nice until you realize, best for who? Because airlines aren't optimizing for your comfort. They're optimizing for throughput, and your comfort is just collateral if it aligns. And this is why 2026 boarding changes matter more than seat pitch, more than baggage fees, more than lounge access. Because boarding is the first emotional contact you have with the flight. And airlines know that if they control that moment, they control how you perceive the entire journey. And once boarding becomes personalized but opaque, complaints become harder, comparisons become impossible, and fairness becomes a feeling instead of a rule. And that's incredibly powerful, and honestly, a little unsettling. Because two passengers on the same flight will walk away with totally different experiences and never know why. And that's exactly how airlines want it. Because when everyone experiences something slightly differently, no one can point to a single problem. And that's why you haven't heard much about this yet, because it's not one big change. It's dozens of tiny ones layered together, airport by airport, airline by airline, masked as process improvements. And if you're not watching closely, you'll miss it until it feels permanent. And by then, complaining won't bring the old system back, because the old system is inefficient, loud, and predictable. And predictability is the enemy of monetization. So yes, surprise boarding order changes are coming in 2026. But the real surprise isn't that boarding will change. It's that most passengers won't even realize when it does. They'll just feel more rushed, more uncertain, and strangely more willing to pay for control. And once that happens, the system has already won. Because the future of flying isn't about seats or planes anymore. It's about shaping behavior quietly, one boarding pass scan at a time.